On arriving above a lock, the first thing to do, obviously, is to stop the boats, which is much easier if you're going abreast. Now, if we were on a canal, we'd have somebody out with a push bike going down the towpath, but the River Nene towpath doesn't exist. It used to be called a hailing way or a harling way, and it's long since ceased to present a continuous line of path. So every lock has to be dealt with as it arrives. Now, the lower guillotine has to be left up for flood control purposes. So the first thing to do is to take the key which the National Rivers Authority issue you with and go down to the bottom of the lock and unlock the guillotine. You have to put a handcuff key into the little lock on the guillotine, and a sort of barrel type lock shoots out, and then you wind the guillotine down. They're not very heavy to do because they're well counterbalanced. They're quite well designed, these guillotines, but it takes a fair old time. If there's a bit of water coming down the river, there's often sufficient water coming over the top gates to fill the lock up. But if there isn't, or if you're in an even bigger hurry, you then go to the top gates and you take the canal-size windlass, you put the windlass on the spindle and you fill the lock up. The lock is now ready to use. You open the gates and in you go. Coming down, once you've got the boats into the lock, you then close the top gates behind you and lower the top paddles. Once they are down, then you lift the guillotine at the bottom, and the bottom guillotine is very, very rapid in its operation. The boats virtually drop down almost immediately. The art of doing it is, in fact, just to give the guillotine a little crack to start it going, first of all, then wind it up nice and steady. Once the water has levelled off, then, of course, you can whip the guillotine right up. And once you've got it right up to its fullest extent, you lock it back in place, step on the boat, and off you go.
At the Nene Valley Railway's Wansford site, the line crosses the river. This made the operation of unloading the coal a relatively simple task. Greyhound was moored under the railway bridge as the railway's own 3-ton Smith & Rodley self-propelled crane was moved into position above. The steam-powered crane lowered skips over the side of the bridge to the narrow boat below. Loading of the skips was carried out manually, and the half-ton capacity vessels were hoisted away. Coal was loaded into the tenders of Nene Valley Railway engines, with the 2-tonneau Polish Railway's Kriegslag locomotive being serviced here. After the coal had been unloaded, the narrowboat set off for the second leg of their journey, downstream to Wisbech, where a consignment of timber was loaded.
The timber is timber for a firm of pallet makers at Kings Langley in Hertford, and they are particularly interested in this because they can both get publicity from the very fact that they are using the boat. This interests people, and people see their name, brings their name before the public. It's also ecologically sound, and so they win brownie points for being seen as a company which is committed to an ecologically sound form of transport. It also is helping to raise money for multiple sclerosis because for various reasons it was thought that this would be a worthwhile charity to support. But having said all that, it is also a commercial load. It is being charged for at commercial rates, and it is competitive with other forms of transport. The wood has come from Scandinavia, and it's been loaded, it's been packaged in Scandinavia in special sized bundles which will fit in the boats. Coming back up the river, we shall go single. That means the butty boat will be behind the motor on a line, not on cross straps as when you're empty. With cross straps, they're two short ropes which bring her up close haul to the motor's counter. But when you're on a travelling loaded, you need a little bit more room to allow the wash from the motor's blades to get past the butty's hull. But there are some sections where we shall come up abreast. On the tideway, we shall come up abreast for safety's sake. But if there's also a lot of water running, probably, although it'll be slow, it's safer to go abreast, but faster to single out. And in any case, we shall have to single out at some of the low bridges that I mentioned before. There's a certain amount of sentiment, I suppose, in what we do. But having said that, there is also a very real pleasure in it. And we sometimes put these pleasures into words, and in fact I've put these pleasures into a song which has acquired a certain amount of notoriety, known as the Chestnut Bloom.
It's 5 in the morning, it's an hour to the dawn, and the frost it is, I'm in the bank. I'm down in me engine, all dipping the sump and pumping the oil to me tank. It's swing on the handles, compression taps down, and let her run up to full power. It's just the same way on a morning in May, when the chestnut blooms in flower. When the chestnut blooms in flower. It's just the same way on a morning in May when the chestnut blooms in flower. A rainy spring day we've been hours on the way. I'm feeling knocked up with me mates. We're dragging a butty uphill through the lops with 100-foot line round the gates. The overcoat's soaked and the brasses are dull, and the motor's gone fast on a scour. It's just the same way on a morning in May when the chestnut blooms in flower. When the chestnut blooms in flower. The chestnut blooms in flower. It's just the same way on a morning in May when the chestnut blooms in flower. A bright winter's night, I run by the light of Waddington's headlamp, the moon. Before end is busting a thick skim of ice, I reckons we'll thicken up soon. The going is slow and there's 2 miles to go, and the boozer there shuts in an hour. And it's just the same way on a morning in May when the chestnut blooms in flower. When the chestnut blooms in flower. The chestnut blooms in flower. It's just the same way on a morning in May when the chestnut blooms in flower. A day in July when the butterflies play and the swallows they dart in the reeds. I'm down in the counter and scraping the prop, 'cause the blessed thing's screwed up with the weeds. The cut starts to boil as the thundercloud breaks. Let us hope that it's only a shower. And it's just the same way on a morning in May when the chestnut blooms